I'm a very bad girl. I have naughty thoughts. Do you really think I can get acting and modeling work?
Girl, look in the mirror.
What the hell are you doing?
Welcome to Hollywood, you have arrived.
There we go.
I don't know. I'm used to talking to myself in the morning, so it's okay.
And then, hey, I do the same thing, so I understand.
An all day long events.
There we go. Everyone's joining in. Are you in LA?
I am. Where are you?
Chicago.
Chicago. Do you guys have snow?
No, but it's pretty cold.
Well, I wish I could say the same here. Right now it's 67, but yesterday it was 77.
Yeah,
So
no, not here. Freezing out here. So.
I don't know. I wish that it would get cold here. I want to move somewhere where we have seasons.
There you go. I enjoy seasons.
So Chicago.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Chicago in a while.
It's great. I'm from here, so I love it. Midwest. I mean, I was living in LA for the last few years, so I'm just back here kind of with family again and going through this quarantine, together.
Oh Lord, this quarantine, this new world we're in.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Hey Moxie, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I like your background. Is that what do you have in back of you? Is it a TV or a microwave? Oh, it's a TV.
It's a TV. It doesn't work. It's just there.
It's good for Zoom purposes.
Yes.
Moxie, where are you at?
I'm at my home.
In LA or?
Yeah, in LA.
Okay. It's early still there, huh? Morning. I'm in Chicago, so it's noon here, but.
Yeah.
Early, but my inner alarm gets me up at 6:30 a.m. whether I'm working or not.
Oh, really? So you just wake up no matter what around that time?
My cats know that it's time to wake up then too. So even if I'm sleeping, they're like jumping over my head and fighting at the end of the bed. And
that's the most important. When they make the call, then you got to be there.
Totally. Hey, your camera's on.
Yeah, there we go.
Although it says you're in 3 different.
I know, yeah. I don't know how that's possible, but maybe now it is just.
Yeah. Oh, well, we lost her.
It's the technology,
Wait, can you guys see me now?
Yeah.
I can see some.
Perfect. So I think we still have.
Hearing you, though. It's hard to hear you. Is your mic?
No, but I can barely hear you guys. What the
really?
F?
Did you try just?
Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna do this from my phone because it's not working from my laptop right now.
Yeah. No, that works good.
Okay, fine.
I don't think Robin's coming. I think because
really?
just sent an email let me double check.
Okay.
5 minutes ago, and think she just said it was going to be the 3 cast members.
Okay. Well, in that case, we can.
Yeah, it's just the 3 of us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get rolling then. In that case, Well, I'm glad to have you ladies here. It's like a little Christmas present, get to finally interact with humans, which is great,
Well, your Christmas tree behind you looks.
It's real. I actually, so I got a real tree. My mom did help me put up the ornaments, and I have one outside too. I have 2 trees. I don't know if you can tell. One on the balcony too.
Oh wow!
I'm like Christmas out. I'm Mr. Christmas apparently.
All you need is snow.
Exactly. But I got all the decorations, so. I like how everyone's got a different background too. So we're all adding something to this. Well, good to have you ladies all together to talk about the film. Because I was going to ask Robin, but I'm sure you can fill in for a lot of things I was going to ask her. so this is basically a follow-up to her original film, or or just kind of like a different version of it? How would you kind of summarize? And did you see the first film that she did? I'm gonna start.
I feel like Robin really should be here to answer that. Yeah.
Well, did you guys see the first film and kind of get an idea what she was going for?
Yeah,
originally?
I did. I watched it before I auditioned. And to me, I in the beginning, I thought it was like the second sequel to the first movie, but it is a second sequel, but it's not to the first movie. The story doesn't carry on with those characters. From what we've done is basically have the same concept, but different stories. But same concept with the same concept with the idea of sex workers and it being gritty and dark. So that's what I would say.
Moxie, you're kind of the young one in this film. You know, everyone's kind of just even when it comes to acting. I think this is what your first feature.
Yes, this is my first feature. I grew up a thespian. I was in the theater. I did theater. I was, gonna go and do theater in Chicago, actually.
Hey, right here where I'm at. So there.
Yes, I wanted to go to school in Chicago, and I didn't think I loved film, but I didn't really see myself moving into it as soon as I did. So, but because up until this film, I'd only done short films and student films, but it was pretty much just mostly theater. And then I did this film, and I didn't see the first movie until after I'd already gotten the job.
Oh, wow.
After I got the job, they were like, hey, you should watch it. So you kind of have an idea of like our writing style and what we're going for. And then I watched the first movie and I read the script, and the script's changed multiple times throughout filming. And it went from being a sequel with different people to a spin-off to a standalone story, but set in the same world. And I think that it was really smart idea to make it its own standalone film rather than it being a sequel.
So, well, I mean, I'm going to stay with you for a second, Moxie. Coming into this, I mean, obviously, it's a big undertaking in a sense, to kind of tell these stories. I mean, I'm sure in a lot of ways you didn't know maybe much about it coming out of the theater world and doing short films, and see this world. And you're from Texas originally, right?
I am from Texas, yes.
Yeah, so this world of LA and Hollywood, that's like a whole different planet in a sense. How, in a sense, did you get into this role, and what sort of research did you do to find out about sex workers and what kind of happens in a way in Hollywood too, when there's so many people come out there for dreams, of being actors and end up doing this sort of work?
Well, I actually consider myself very fortunate in the fact that when I started doing acting in junior high school, I had a lot of mentors and teachers who came out to LA and had worked out here. And so they were able to give me like a big heads up. I wasn't just thrown into it. They kind of started training me from a younger age to be like, hey, if you do go to LA, this, and this, do this, but then this could happen, and so on and so forth. I was going to theater camps every summer, starting in high school. That's what I saved my money for all year long. And then every summer I went to a different theater camp. I even went to Chicago. And I went to Second City there, and that's where I fell in love with Second City.
Oh, that's an awesome place. That's a great place to check out.
And then later on, I came and did Second City out here in Hollywood, and I still love it. And then I just met so many different teachers and mentors that were able to give us advice and help prepare us. And then when I went off to college in Austin for one semester, one of my performance teachers who had worked in LA for years and Chicago came up to me and was like, hey, I think you should go to LA for a little bit and try it while you're still young. She goes, I think you could do really well. and then sat down with me right before I left and gave me like this whole like bunch of advice. And so when I came out here, I was sort of had booklets and papers and like all of these, you know, sort of things to help prepare me, which of course, you know, you can read as much as you can, but then once you're finally in it, you know, you pretty much learn by doing. But then you meet other people like at Second City who are also actors, and they give you advice, and you're just sharing ideas and information and making connections with people that have done different things. As far as the script goes with sex trafficking, I'm from Houston, which is a huge sex trafficking industry. So I was very much aware already of these girls and what happens, and, you know, the statistics and everything. I did do more research after getting the role to see, you know, what was happening more currently. But yeah, I mean, just growing up, you know, in Houston, you're told, you know, don't go anywhere alone. Do, you know, just things that you normally you tell young girls. But it's a very big problem where I lived. I remember while I was in high school, there were a lot of girls who went missing at the high schools, not specifically my high school, but the high schools right next to us, because they went to the mall with their friends in broad daylight and then they went missing.
Wow.
And they were sex trafficked in broad daylight at a mall as a group. And that's when you're sort of like, oh my God, so you can't even be in a group. You can't do these things. And then they uncovered this like huge ring of sex trafficking in Houston. And I mean, it's crazy. And you grow in Houston, you grow up and you go to stores and things, and you see the missing girl posters at like Walmarts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, most of the time they're considered runaways, but they're not. And people just kind of ignore these posters of these girls who go missing. And it's kind of sad that growing up where I grew up, you just kind of become just immune to it, and you just kind of block it out because it just happens so much. And you're told like, really be careful where you go. And it's the same thing out here in LA. Like, you know, the same protocol: careful where you go, careful who you're with, careful the area, the time of day, the time of night, you know. Beware, is it a real audition, or is it a safe audition, even with auditions and them trying to get young girls.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is kind of ingrained into your mind at a very young age from where I'm from.
Wow. Serena, you've been in adult industry. You kind of seen both sides of the equation. Tell me kind of how you understood these kind of things that went on, especially in Hollywood, and your understanding of it from what you've experienced and seen yourself too over the years.
Well, I mean, sex trafficking comes in so many different forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even as far as having girls webcam against their will, basically. And then in the porn industry, what a lot of young girls, they go in and they don't realize what the casting is like. And there's something called the casting couch.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen in movies. Well, there's a lot of directors in the industry, unfortunately, that take advantage of the young girls that come in, and they will do the casting couch with them. And it's kind of like, well, show me what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll hire you. And that's just not the way it goes. And luckily I was old enough. I got in the industry at 24, but I also had an agent immediately. So I didn't have to go through any of that. I always had them to back me and kind of groom me, prep me for what it really should be like. And then I wasn't approached, thank God. But I see it all the time. And then me, myself, when I was a lot younger at 19, I had been with the wrong crowd and got put into a hotel room by LAX. I didn't live here at the time, and was, you know, seeing Johns for a little bit of money, and I wasn't getting any of it. And it was a very bad situation that I got out of immediately. It was just a couple of days worth. And I was like, nope, it's not for me. Mm-hmm. So I've seen a lot of aspects of it, from even my mom working as a prostitute when I was younger and us being homeless together. And I mean, just across the board.
How hard is it to get out of, if like when you fall into this situation, it kind of goes down a bad rabbit hole in a lot of ways. I mean, strength to you for being, in a sense, wise enough and how to, you know, navigate certain things and not fall into these traps. But it's easy to fall down, especially if you're young and naive and coming from small towns. How do you kind of what advice do you sense give younger, actresses or adult actresses girls who want to get into the industry? What can they do? Because it's crazy to kind of think now, even it's still happening, the casting couches with more, obviously there's a lot more, with the Harvey Weinstein stuff that's been gone on, there's more, I guess, eyes on it now and more people are talking about it. But is there a way to kind of really eliminate it, or is it always going to continue kind of going on?
I mean, I would just say, for one, I've always thought to get into the adult industry, I don't think you should be able to get in at 18. I think that's too young. I don't think you're thinking correctly. And a lot of times it is girls running away from home and they want to get back at their family or show their ex-boyfriend, and those are all the wrong reasons. And you should not get into the adult industry because you might be desperate for money. I think it should be really that you think of sex as an art. And luckily I've had a good relationship with my family. I've never had to hide it. I don't think I could be in the adult industry and have to hide it. And with Moxie's story in this film, where she gets on the bus and everybody thinks they're going to go to Hollywood and it's the city of glitz and glam, sparkle. And I tell people all the time, LA at one point did have all that for me. And at this point, it's really lost its sparkle to me. I mean, all my friends that used to live here have now moved out. The homeless encampments are terrible. It's dangerous everywhere, especially now with everything political going on. It's not safe to even go to the grocery store sometimes. You can't go on a night hike. And it's just, this is where you want to come and pay all this overpriced rent and live this glamorous life, which isn't really glamorous. It's not everything you see on everybody's social media.
It's so true. I mean, living in LA, I came out from Chicago to LA, and luckily, I'm old enough, and when I came out there, to kind of understand life and not to fall for it. But, being, one day you're like interviewing major A-list celebrities and hanging out at lavish parties, but at the end of the day, you got to realize, like, they're going back to their mansions. I'm going back to my studio apartment. You got to be able to separate that life, especially if you get to be around that, attend premieres and all these things. Like, the glitz is definitely there, but the reality of it, it's so temporary and fleeting, that you're not living technically that life, even if you're fortunate enough to kind of be around it.
And I think me and Robin have similar backgrounds where we worked with Playboy. We spent a lot of time at the mansion. We were going to every great party. We were on private jets. Everything was red carpet. But the older you get, we all have a shelf life. That kind of dwindles in time, thankfully, though, because I don't want to be 50 years old trying to go to the nightclub and do bottle service.
Right.
Priorities have definitely changed a bit now, but.
Psalms, you play a mother in the film that's, that's a situation that I'm sure happens to a lot of sex workers. I mean, this is probably a common story in a lot of ways. How did you kind of relate to that character? And that's a tough lifestyle, just being depicted in the film, having a young child in a sense, and doing this sort of work and trying to navigate life and support the family and yourself. How did you relate with that character, and have you witnessed or seen anything like that in your everyday life?
Maybe.
My bad. Sorry about that.
There you go.
So personally, I have not seen anything like that up close. I've also worked in the entertainment industry as a dancer. So being in that world is not new to me at all. I'm 23. I've been doing this since 19. I've actually did it just to move to LA to be an actor. So So I would be around women that I know would do it because they, have younger children, or they are in school, or, they're achieving something greater than them. But to see a dancer then turn into an escort that lives such a low lifestyle, like the girls I was around always had money, living in condos. And I didn't ever see it on the side of where there's girls that barely even make money. And to me, I never understood why they even do the job, because the whole point of being a sex worker is to make a lot of money. Like that's one of the biggest points, because you make really quick, fast money.
Right.
To the struggles of doing things you don't want to do to get where you want to be. I can relate to that, doing things you don't want to do to get to where you want to be, because I feel like there's been times in my life that I did not prioritize myself and put myself first. And I put short-term gratification before what's good for me spiritually, mentally, physically. And so I understand that very, very well, because I've been in situations, personal situations, where I've been, taken advantage of, or, just doing things, not saying no, but just doing it anyways, just because I'm too scared to say no or whatever, because I need the money or whatever it may be. So that I had to do no research on that, because that came naturally. And you don't have to be in like super dark situations to understand that. I think just being a stripper or porn star or candy girl, anyone that works in the sex industry has all been in a situation that was uncomfortable, and they probably just did it anyways because they didn't know what to do or whatever. But with the whole alcoholism and having a child, I don't have any children. I have 3 dogs, but that's it.
Hey, they're kids too. They're furry kids.
I know. I mean, they are like children. If anything, they're worse. And so I just try to. I have little brothers. I have I'm one of 7. So I just try to put that love and that motherly figure. I try to connect with that young girl, and Leah, and doing that off screen, having chemistry, speaking. Naturally, there was a bond felt. Naturally, she's a young woman. You want to take care of her. You want to, make sure she's okay. So it just kind of came natural to me in that sense.
That's really interesting, that personal perspective and kind of experiences, and you can see it on screen too. Sometimes you can't act certain things, right? Certain experiences, if you're familiar with it or understand it differently than just what words say on a script in so many ways.
Right. Yeah, I felt like, there was things in the movie. Me personally, I was like, when watching it, I'm like, okay, there was just parts where I felt like I was maybe acting a little too much, like too hard. I'm trying to act when a lot of it comes very, natural. And so you're trying to give this like a perception of what it is, but really you just need to be a young woman uncomfortable. It doesn't take a whole lot of acting especially when you have those men that around and you don't know them, like it's naturally uncomfortable. So yeah, it was really interesting to be able, for my first film too. It is my first film as well. I've been out here a little over 3 years, for my first film to be a film about me kind of getting out of that world as well is what a coincidence.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
I always wonder about the thing, like the question, especially in this country. I mean, the issues of in a sense, sex trafficking, as you mentioned, Moxie, it's like stuff you don't even hear about, but like you would know in a sense, locally or in your circles, but it's not like a widespread conversation. I think we've started nationally putting a focus on it in recent years. About how it goes on, like literally in our back doors. That's kind of the scary part of this situation. Were you ladies aware of this in a sense that it's so widespread in this country, and even it doesn't even happen necessarily only in big cities like LA? It happens in small towns that these girls disappear in a sense, and no one really kind of talks about it and the reasons for it. I want to kind of start with Moxie. Obviously, you explained that in your essence, but how do you think we're talking about this as, in a sense, as a society versus to what individually about these situations? How do you feel about the conversation about sex trafficking in a larger scale?
I think that a lot of people, I think there just needs to be more education on it. Like there should be more education on a lot of things in this country.
Right. True.
But I think people, especially, being from the South, they're quick to blame the girls, and they think things like, they were being stupid, or it's their own fault, or they asked for it, something like that. Or, well, if you're just just be more careful, or or, oh, they ran away and the family doesn't want to admit they ran away, things like that I've heard. I think people just need to be more understanding of like what happens to these girls, and how they're manipulated, or they're tricked, or they just end up in a really bad situation, however that may be, and that they are the victim. And when I was doing my research, what I found surprising was that a lot of people were sex trafficked by people that they knew.
Wow.
And that's which is what I found very interesting and applied to the story of Girl Lost, because Hope ends up in that situation because she trusts this person because she was her babysitter, and she thinks that this girl is her friend. And that's what happens, is these girls are sex trafficked by friends of family, or acquaintances of like people that they know, and they build up trust. And then the next thing they know, they're in a hotel room, their phones are taken, their wallets are taken, they have nothing. And it does happen in smaller towns. My family's from Montana, and my aunts were telling me how they had a big sex trafficking bust out there.
Wow.
In the smaller towns, and these guys had these women in their vans, and they were taking them to these towns all across the state, and trying to get these women to sell jewelry on the side, and like just to like out of fear because they're forced to. Then they end up in these hotel rooms, and these girls they go missing. And a lot of the times the police they just assume that they're runaways, especially if they're not minors. They assume that they're runaways, and that if you're an adult, they're not really going to try very hard to look for you. And if they are minors, sometimes there's more effort put into it, but I don't feel like there's as much effort as there should be. I just feel like and also another issue is that there's just so much of it. There's so many cases. It's so hard to find all of these girls because there's just so many of them, and they travel, they go from state to state. They start in the South, and they take these girls up north, and they take them out east, and they take them out west. They're taken everywhere. And, they have no identification on them. They have no phones. They don't have any of that. And so it's hard to find them. Sometimes they're taken internationally. I think that there should be more research done, and there should be more education, and there should be more people, looking for these girls and like actually caring about them. Like that's somebody's daughter, that's somebody's sister, that's someone, and they're like, oh, well, they're gone, they're taken now. It's like, it shouldn't be like that.
Mm-hmm. No question. Well, Robin, welcome. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Oh, good. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late.
No, it's okay. We had a good conversation going, so perfect timing. I guess I'll circle back to you now. You did the first kind of the film that we learned. It's different. It's not a sequel or anything like that. But what was your initial inspiration to come up with the first film and then this follow-up of The Lost Girls? Like what was the initial spark that wanted you to write it and make this happen? And because this is a story that's been heard and told, but not really seen in movies much. It's kind of like an under the radar thing. We see, but we don't speak about it.
You're cutting in and out, so I'm not getting your.
Can you hear me now, or?
I'm so sorry. I totally missed your question. You're cutting in and out.
Okay. Is anyone else having issues hearing me?
Frozen here.
I'm good. I have no issues.
Okay.
I'm not having any issues either.
Okay.
She's probably gonna try to log in, log out maybe.
Donnie.
We'll wait for her a second to log back in. I would just jump to Serena. Serena, I wanted to ask you, here's the thing that always kind of fascinated me with, in a sense, not only all our culture, but in America, how sex is still taboo. You go to like different places like Europe, you see it on TV. It's a lot more spoken about, and there's this freedom about sexuality. And in this country, in a sense, we're still kind of, you know, view it as taboo. Like, you don't talk about watching porn. You know, I do. Everyone, I think, in a sense, I know does. You know, I've seen your work. I admit to this stuff because I think it's natural in a way, and healthy. And, you know, if you're not hurting anyone or doing anything that you guys depict in a movie, you know, the bad side, underbelly of it, it's okay to kind of be open about it. From your experience, and you've seen it in the industry and outside of it, why do you feel like we're still kind of a taboo in this country about sexuality, and kind of keep it on the down low, and not be free and kind of open about it?
Serena, your mic's off.
Thanks, Moxie.
Moxie's directing. I love it.
I know, she's doing a great job over there. I have my mic muted most of the time because my Chihuahua, who's elderly, is like coughing up a lung in the background.
Oh no!
To distract you guys. But I do think that it's really suppressed, and I don't understand that myself either. You would think at this point in time and how things have elevated that we would be more open about it, but it's really not. And usually the people that look down on it, put their noses down to us, sex workers and so forth, are the ones that are doing much kinkier and crazier things.
Right. It's true.
So that's what I've noticed over the years. But yeah, I mean, if I was a bigger fan of Europe, I would love to live there because they are more open and it's more freedom. And
do we think we'll get to this point as a society? I mean, it's gotten a little bit more accepting, you know, and people have become more understanding over the years, and kind of the new generation, and just more, you know, speaking about it and talking about it. But do you think we'll ever get to that point where we feel like, in a sense, comfortable in having these conversations and not being, you know, embarrassed or shy, or kind of keeping it taboo as if it's something wrong to talk about sexuality and you know, an enjoyment of it?
we could only hope.
I think that's well said. Yeah. I think, yeah, we could only hope. Robin, so I'll get back to you on the film. What initially inspired you to kind of start this? And was there something that drew upon that made you want to showcase this? Because as I mentioned, there's something about it. It's like an unspoken thing. We see it, but we don't talk about it. We don't see movies like this talking about, you know, kind of the sex workers and what they have to deal with. And I loved how you gave different perspectives of different, because there's no one lane for this. You know, there's not just one way of going about it. There's different variations, different ways about it. What kind of initially inspired you to bring this to life?
That's a good question, and I appreciate your thoughts already on it. I think that for me, it was just something that needed to be told. It's a story that needs to be told. People have certain impressions of women and men who work in the sex industry, and I don't think that those impressions are always accurate. I mean, these are people who have real lives and are normal people, and either by choice or for survival reasons are choosing to do this. And you know, their stories are important.
And you feel like, have you experienced this personally, like in your life and experiences in Hollywood? I'm sure you've come across or heard stories, people close to you, about, you know, in order to get this sort of material, you can research it, but you also, I feel like, need some sort of personal experience or know someone who's been through it to be able to tell it honestly, like I felt you did.
Well, I've lived in Hollywood for a long time. I lived in LA for a long time. I've been in the entertainment business for years, and I've seen a lot of dark, shady things go on. So yeah, that's my answer.
I think that's a
and
real
I know a lot of dark,
here.
shady people.
Yes, no question. I mean, you know, for a lot of people, maybe come from different small towns, they could be naive about that town, but you open up your eyes quickly and see it's done differently.
Absolutely. There's a lot of great people too.
Sure.
But, you know, especially just coming up along the way, and when I first started in this business, it's tough. You know, you don't know who you're trusting. You don't know who's out there, all those kinds of things. So.
I think that's well said. Psalms, I'm going to jump to you. based on this experience working on the film and with these girls, did you guys kind of form a friendship, a sisterhood in a sense? Because it seems that you might. I mean, stories like this kind of would bring you together as not only as a cast, but as friends, kind of sharing this experience on screen and, understanding that, you all come from different towns and kind of ended up in LA with the same kind of drive to be in the entertainment industry. How do you feel this experience working on this film has changed you and made a bond between these women?
I actually hate all the women. No, I'm joking.
Oh, of course you do. Of course, yes. Oh, this was so
Just kidding. Just kidding. No. It has taught me a lot. I feel like it has humbled me. I have created, I feel like, a special relationship with Robin and for trusting me because there was, I wasn't originally supposed to play this character. So it was like kind of like destiny. And I was so grateful for the opportunity. When I first met Moxie, our first original audition didn't actually go that well. But once we got it all sorted and everyone was like, stop. Everyone got there. Sorry.
I love it. Animals get to be part of this too.
Once we were all got in our places and was all dive into the characters, I felt like everybody was very kind and respectful to everyone's experience. And I really when you're working with a lot of women, you don't necessarily know how that's going to go. It can be snobby or pretentious or whatever. And
right.
It was a complete opposite. I think everybody was sensitive to the material and everyone was sensitive to everyone's process. And I also built a close relationship because I mostly filmed with Leah. Most of my scenes were, with Leah. And that's who I also connected with. I was really around Leah and the grandmother and Robin on the daily. And so the grandmother, she was just so wise and sweet and I made me feel very comfortable. And Leah, it was my first time working with someone so young. And so it made me excited that she, connected with me. She looked up to me. She really, really liked me. And so to have that responsibility, it felt nice and humbling. And I feel like what I personally gained from this film was for me personally, it showed me how much I need to respect myself and not take for granted my life and situations I've been in that could have gone wrong, to be grateful that I have the strength to not fall into the alcoholism and the drugs. And because I've been close to, I've been in that world very closely. And I just feel like it teaches me so much more of how important every decision we make. All we have is time and choices, and we have to be wise with them. So if you're working in entertainment where they advocate a lot of the partying and stuff, you really, really have to have self-discipline and control about what you really, really want. And it really showed me what I truly want, which is to be a full-time working actress and telling real stories that people can relate to. It's kind of crazy how that was really my first film. It's not mediocre at all. It's something that's very real and raw and can make people feel uncomfortable. And I just feel like that's me in my life, very raw, real, maybe can make people feel uncomfortable, So I'm very, very grateful for the experience and the many to come. And I'll just end by saying that I'm thank you to Robin again for just to trust me to bring the character to life and to be patient with me and all my crazy vegan demandings.
She has a lot of vegan demands.
Okay, Robin. So I got to ask you, what were the demands on set? I mean, so we got a vegan demand. I mean, that's manageable. You can make that happen. Any other big requests that you were getting from the cast?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that, Psalms. That's really sweet. And she really all the women here and everybody who was cast in the film really stood out when they came in, and it was a special experience. But as far as demands, honestly, Psalms was the most demanding. She doesn't like, everything has to be vegan, and it has to be good vegan. It can't be low quality vegan.
Psalms, you can back that up by saying, hey, I look the way I look because of this, right?
Right. Well, I'm a very passionate vegan, okay? And no one on set was vegan, and everyone wanted to eat pizza. And I'm like, dude, they're like, you can't have cheese. I'm like, no, I'm vegan. People don't understand. Like, no cheese, no egg, nothing. Like, because some people can claim they're vegan, but they'll still have cheese or whatever. I was a very I love food. I really do love food. And if I don't like eat, I get just grouchy, working all day. But she was very patient. I think
that makes all of us in that case.
But I wasn't too much of a brat. I wasn't too much. I wasn't too much.
Robin, when you were casting this film, did you know when these ladies came in the room, you kind of had an idea? What kind of sparked you, knowing that these are the right choices? Because I think you came up with a very eclectic cast, in a sense, not only diverse, but with age and just in every sense for it.
Right.
You really did a good job of casting these performers from all sorts of walks of life.
Thank you. Well, that's, I had known Serena for a long time, so we had wanted to work together for a long time, and it sort of just worked out that way. And once we started working together, I actually made her part bigger. So, that was sort of, and she had been in the industry for years, and I felt like keeping the authenticity of women who are already in that industry was really important. As far as Moxie, it's interesting because a lot of young girls came in, but she just kept coming back to my head. Some people just stick out as the right person for that role. And when I was writing the role, I'm not sure that I had an actual vision, but then she came through the door. So there you were. And I remember her because she was sitting there in the waiting room, and I saw her and I just sort of knew, even before she opened her mouth.
Moxie didn't have to do anything, just show up.
Right.
That's half the job.
She had to be good, which she was, but I liked Psalms immediately. So, and as she said, we had, sorry, my cat is.
That's okay. Animals welcome in this conversation. We're bringing in the animals into all of this. I love it.
Can you hear him? He just stopped, but he's 20 years old, and he, I think he might have a little bit of dementia. So, but he's okay. Anyways, Psalms was interesting because she auditioned for the role that Cody Renee Cameron also ended up playing the role of Paige. And, I loved Cody immediately. And I really like Psalms, but she wasn't quite what I had envisioned for that role. And I had actually offered the role of baby girl to somebody else without even auditioning anybody. And that person wasn't interested. And so it just it went through my brain. Oh my gosh, what about this girl Psalms? I really liked her. So I called her and it worked out. And honestly, it worked out better than it ever could have otherwise. So I've told the girls before, it's interesting, and it's a lesson for actors. Just because you think that you might not be right for one role, still go in and audition, because you never know, somebody might think of you for something else. And,
yeah, and even you as a writer, you were able to give you credit for being able to be flexible, your idea initially, what you put down on the script, that, hey, I can change things and maybe I can make it better by not doing what I originally wrote or had in mind.
Absolutely. And the role changed, it evolved with Psalms. So, you definitely have to be flexible. And actually all the roles evolved once the actors came aboard. The script really went through an evolution from what it was initially to what ended up on the screen.
I know all of you women are in your mid-20s for sure, but Moxie, I got to ask you, Moxie, I know I'm not supposed to ask women's age, I know, but I'm so curious what your age is, because you're so mature, yet you look so youthful. I can't figure it out.
Yes, I get this question all the time. When I got the role, I was 18. And so we filmed for 2 months. I'd only been in LA for 6 months when I got the job.
Wow.
And so I was 18 when we started, and then we finished shooting, and then I turned 19, and then I was 19 when we did the reshoots, and now it's a year later, and I'm 20. So I'm 20 years old. But I was the baby of the cast for sure, because I was 18, barely legal, 18, doing this film, my first film, and now, a year and a half later, I'm 20, and it kind of just is like, wow. Watching the film, I'm like, I look the same. My hair's been cut, but I look the same.
Literally, I mean, you don't age, but that's credit too. I mean, you seem so mature and wise, just even with your life experiences. For someone that's still a teenager, well, technically was until recently, but that's crazy that you had so many life experiences and coming out to Hollywood and now having a film under your belt. Robin, I'm blown away by it too. I can imagine her as a young actress like that coming in and just having that maturity in a sense and wisdom. I mean, I can't believe she's 20,
I'll tell you, Moxie really impressed me. Like I said, from the get-go, she was so professional, and I am someone who's always early and organized, and she is actually earlier than me and more organized. And I almost wanted to hire her as my assistant. That's so. I remember we were going through the wardrobe. You actually had everything organized. She was more on top of it than I was. And also, I remember during the callback, I made a point to get there at least a half an hour early so I could set everything up, and Moxie was there, so I was like, wow, this girl's really impressive, because so many actors are flaky and immature, but she was always really on it. And I mean, I was very, very impressed.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
And you really handled the material really well too, because it's difficult. It was definitely difficult subject matter. But.
No question, especially for a young person like that to portray difficult situations, but
right.
Also things that, I feel like watching this movie, there's got to be someone watching it out there that can relate to this firsthand. That's the thing, that's a power sometimes of film and a film like this, where technically this could impact someone. Have you guys thought about that too, that someone watching this could be going through these struggles in a sense, or these situations where they don't have the guidance and can really take something away from this, that you're not just making some goofy comedy or whatnot. This movie does have true meaning to it and depict true people. I guess everyone agrees.
Yeah, do you want to answer that?
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was on a.
I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. But basically, I was just saying that
how it would affect people who might be affected by this film.
That this movie's powerful in a sense. It could impact someone just by watching it. At home.
I've gotten that a lot out of everybody, and I've had a lot of people watch it. People that I've gone to high school with that I haven't talked to.
Wow.
In years. Distant family, friends that I haven't talked to in maybe 10 years have reached out and said they watched it. And what they've said is it's a really powerful movie, and they're really proud of all the actresses for being able to pull that off and reach from where they've reached with to get the outcome we did across on film as well as it did. I do warn a lot of people though, when they reach out to me and say, hey, I'm gonna watch your movie tonight. I said, okay, not for the faint of heart. Like, just be prepared. You may cry. And also, my role is not likable at all. That's the other feedback I've got too, is my mom, we watched it for our third time again last night. She's like, you're so mean. I've gotten that a lot. Like, you are sinister, which that's the role. So
right, I guess someone's got to play it.
But it's people that know me and know that that's not me at all. So the fact that I pulled that off and it was believable on film, I feel pretty good about. Maybe I'll just turn sinister.
Yeah, someone's got to do it, right? Robin wrote the parts, so someone's got to take the mantle of it. And I think you did a wonderful job.
What's so funny is that in real life, Serena is like one of the sweetest people I've ever known in my ever. And I know people, that about yourself. So. It's like crazy to see her, play this evil person, because she's just not.
She's so bubbly, even in this conversation.
Yeah.
Serena, I
And
was
then-
going to ask you.
Life.
Serena, I was going to ask you in the background. I'm trying to figure out the art that you have and what does it say? And something and sex. I've been death. Okay, there we go.
And here it comes. You've got to tell them about your coffin.
Well, and next to me, it's covered up right now with Christmas decor, but there's a casket there next to my
Oh my
desk.
God.
That's kind of how my office is. And it's a real casket. No dead bodies have been in it, but that's why.
How did you come about that? How does one just get a casket, you know?
A girlfriend of mine was actually Robin. Well, no, I guess Robin doesn't know her. I just think in this world we all know her. But she used to be a mortician, and she's now in a band called the Butcher Babies. And she lived a couple blocks from me, and then she moved to Chicago. She lives by you now.
There you go. Everyone's coming this
What's
way.
her number?
It's pretty hot too.
Hey, I'm single and can't score a date for my life. So
Well, I find that hard to believe.
I was just going to say that. I don't believe you.
That's kind of ridiculous. It's only because you're in quarantine and you're living your life with your 2 Christmas trees and being
that's
good.
true. Robin, I was showing I have a Christmas tree on my balcony too. So it's one. That's all I have to do these days.
Decorate trees. That's fun.
So she was selling it because she was moving, and I jokingly put it on my Instagram. Should I buy Carla Harvey's casket? And I did a poll, and everybody said yes. And then my adopted brother chimed in and said, I'm going to buy it for you. I'll send you the money. And he did. And it happened in the beginning of COVID. And we rolled that casket, me and about 5 friends, from her house to mine. The looks from people driving and walking by.
Oh my God. They thought you had a body probably in there or something.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. And recently, so I've moved my mom in with me, and I'm taking care of her at the moment.
That's great.
So I'm trying to get her approved for this program called IHSS. And they have to send a worker to your house to do an assessment, make sure everything's okay. So that's how it came about that I did the Christmas decor on it.
Yeah.
Was to hide it. So no, she didn't notice it was casket. And then I took all these letters, and I didn't know what to do with them. I couldn't just take them off and there's a bunch of nails. So I just scrambled the letters. And I was doing okay till my mom pointed behind me at this and was like, oh, and that's my favorite picture of Serena, to the worker. And I'm like, Mom, we were doing so well. Her back was to the wall.
What a great story. This was deep. I did not expect to get that much out of it. So that's awesome. Super cool. I was going to ask you, you know what? I know we're going to probably wrap it up. Everyone's probably tired of me at this point. But what is one thing you kind of take away from this experience? I'm going to start with you, Moxie. What is something that you take away from being on this film?
They're such a bright white.
Thank you.
Oh, there we go. I don't know what happened there. I lost you guys for a moment. So
You froze up.
Yeah, my luck, just my luck. But as I was kind of saying in the last thing, Moxie, what do you kind of take away from this experience? Obviously, you're the young one from this whole group, but what did you learn being part of this film and meeting these ladies, and that you're going to take with you and kind of in life?
I mean, I learned a lot just about, being an actor and going to set. It was my first, professional feature film. So I just kind of just learned the ropes of, being on set, and the hair, the makeup, the hours, like all of that, just learning what it was like to be on a set. I think it was a really good experience for me for the future. A good practice round.
Sure.
But I learned a lot about how to communicate with people on set, and I learned about just from everybody's experience, from talking to everybody, the makeup artist, talking with Cody, who's done a lot of filming, and learning from her, talking with Brooke, talking with Psalms for the amount of times we were connections, learning about the job and what it's like out here, or even things like, oh, this is like a really good place to go eat. And
Nice.
make sure, just like knowing what it was like out here, just learning from them. But also I think I learned a lot about myself doing this film as an actor, because, I read the script before I took the job. Robin she's like, we want to hire you for this, but I'm going to give you the script and, let me know if you want it. It is very dark. It is very gritty. So read the script and watch the first movie and then get back to us. And I read the script, and the original script is nothing like what you saw. It was a lot. And I was just like, yeah, I can do that. Okay. And then I took the job, and, I just learned a lot about myself as an actor, as a person, with what I'm comfortable with, what I can endure, what my limits are, learning to speak for myself. I didn't have any like vegan demands or anything, but learning to, learning to be like, I'm comfortable with this, but I'm not comfortable with this. And, communicating with the other actors, especially all the Johns, who are all very professional men, by the way, no issues with any of them. Just, learning as an actor, as a person, like what you're okay with on the job, what you're okay with in general, and being more confident in your body. There's a lot of body that's seen, and learning to just grow in that confidence, as a young woman starting out, you get the DMs from the guys, you get like all this stuff, and learning how to juggle all of that, because we started doing promotions very early on. We were still filming, and people like saying things and messaging, and like learning, okay, this is what I'm okay with, and this is what I'm not okay with, and this is what I want to do with my career, and this is not what I want to do with my career, and just trying to figure it all out. And I think by the time a year and a half later we finished and the film's released, now I'm juggling the whole other aspect of like, okay, what's next? How do I handle this? What am I going to do with this as an actor? It's all just one big learning process, but I don't think anybody in this industry ever like fully has it. I mean, maybe ask a more experienced actor, but I think people still, you never know what's going to happen on a set. You never know what's going to happen career-wise, or what people are going to say, and all of that. So I think I'm just going to take away everything, because every day I learned something new while working on that film. And even when we weren't working, there was always something to learn about it, but also just the subject in itself, the research and what I found out was very heartbreaking. And, I want to continue to like bring awareness, to this topic even long after the film is done, and be like, hey, like this is, because a lot of people ask me why I chose to do something like this, especially for a first movie. And I tell them, I'm like, I will do a film based on the script and the topic. I was like, I don't care. Obviously you want to make money as an actor, but I was like, I care about the script. And I was like, when I read that script, when I saw what this was, I was like, as a woman, as a sister, as a daughter, as someone who lived in a sex trafficking area, as someone coming out to LA with this industry happening, I was like, this is something that like, I was like, I need to do it. I'm like, this is a script that I need to do because it's important. And like, it's not, like some weird, like gory horror film. Like it's dark, but it's important.
Right.
And I don't regret it at all.
That's fantastic. That's couldn't have said it any better, in that way. That's really eloquent there.
That was incredible, Moxie.
Yeah, that's one smart girl, Robin. Good job of making her, the centerpiece of this film, and in a lot of ways, and trusting. That's Absolutely. So cool that you're able to trust all these individuals, and they really brought it to the film. And I just thought all of you told a heck of a story, and something I feel like that's important. It's good to have movies like that tell real messages. It's not just for kicks or whatever, kill time, but these are things that could make an impact, as I mentioned earlier. So it's great to see movies that are almost a documentary in a lot of ways. I initially thought it was going to be a documentary, but it's a story that could be also taken as a documentary in a lot of ways. Well, I'm not going to bore you ladies more today. It's like, hell, what'd you do? You wasted time with me all day. But I guess since I have you here, I could use some dating tips. Anyone going to tell me? I've been single for 4 years, not for the lack of trying. I mean, I lived in LA for a couple of them. As you know, that's not the best place to find a wife or anything. But yeah, any advice you could share?
Oh
Well,
my God.
right thing getting out of LA for one, dating.
Well,
in
yeah,
LA.
that's part number one, move to do, and I did.
God, I don't know. Psalms?
Well,
Everyone asks songs.
first, I think for me, I think when you look for it, you push it even further. That's just my opinion. I feel like the best things in life happen unexpectedly, and the best relationships I've been in are unexpectedly. But of course, if you want it, you want to bring that law of attraction in, and you want to put it out there in the universe. but geez, that's be yourself, have money. No, I'm joking.
Well, I already failed on the second one. I mean, I can be myself, but damn, yeah, just like
No, I honestly think, all jokes aside,
yeah.
I think it's during this time of Rona, it's especially hard to connect with people and meet people, and that's just like life right now. It's just like a shitty time, and it's just not the best time because we still have clubs, malls, events, networkings, a lot of things we would have to meet people, bars, lounges, but a lot of that is taken away from us. So at this point, like, your only really option is downloading Bumble or like Hinge or something.
It's been an option.
And going on there.
It's not a good
That's
option.
the only thing I can say.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Well,
Moxie, I want to hear Moxie's advice.
Moxie, you're so wise. I mean, you must have something.
I have nothing. I'm kind of with Psalms. I don't date. I don't look for it. I don't like the idea of dating apps. That's just me personally.
Me neither, but I'm just saying, if you're really looking for it.
I want to make a connection with the human being in person, because I feel like that's how you figure out their true self. I mean, as for like what would make me want to call a guy again or something, well, yeah, obviously be yourself, but like listening, listening, show that you're listening, and just like I like be like a gentleman, basically. I'm not that type that like goes for the bad boy. I like the nice, respectful. I like the nerds and the geeks and the gentlemanly type people. But like that's just me. But like, yeah, I'm all about respect, but I don't go looking for it. I got other things to do right now. I'm using this time of Corona to get my associate's degree, to work, to audition. I'm like, love will be there later on. I'm just
I love it. Oh my God, Moxie, you just speak the truth. Robin and Serena, any piece of advice?
I'm actually surprised you're having issues.
Really?
Yeah.
I have so many women flake on me. It's crazy. I'm tired of it.
I don't see it. You're obviously, nice looking and fun, and I don't get it. Maybe you're looking at in the wrong places, like they said. I don't know.
That could be something. Maybe it's me.
Though, I know people that have been successful on dating apps. A girlfriend of mine.
Really?
She's met a guy on Match. This was maybe 7 years ago, and now they're having their second baby. They've been married for 3 years. They're happy as can be. So I mean, even though a lot of people are against the dating apps, I think now more than ever people are on them because they're not leaving their houses, and and you can get to know each other in video chat and so forth. I mean, I would say don't be closed-minded to the online dating.
I think that's a good piece of advice. Being open-minded to anything. Once you start throwing I remember going on dates and it'd be like deal breaks, like, oh, you don't listen to country music? I can't date you. Like, what? Like, what the hell? We have so many other things in common, I think a lot of approach too is that you got to be open-minded in a world of dating. And some people are just like, with the online dating, it's like, the grass is greener on the other side, right? So you can always just swipe with the hopes of finding something perfect, but that's not reality. There's no one perfect out there, It's compatibility, I feel like, in a lot of ways, but it's tough to make the others understand too, that it's not always better to just keep on swiping if you have something decent around, that matches.
It's greener where you choose to water it.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's
my words of wisdom.
Also, when I went to Thailand last year, I was like with this mission group, and the couple on the mission group literally met on Tinder, and he proposed
in front of a waterfall on the trip in Thailand.
Wow.
So it can happen for sure.
Yeah.
And again, we have to live with the world we live in right now, and a lot of things are taken away. So yeah, don't like she said, don't be too close-minded towards it. Be open to it, and good things come to those who wait. And maybe you just haven't met the perfect one yet, and that's okay.
Yeah, there's
Rome
always
isn't built in a
something not
day.
to settle too. You don't want to settle for something that you
No,
might not be happy
never
with.
settle. Never.
Yeah.
Never settle.
And
I
how
love
cool
this.
is it that you can go on a date without leaving your house nowadays?
Yeah.
Hey, I had 4 beautiful women here for the past hour or so. So I mean, I'll put that as a success story right there.
Yay.
Love
I just
that.
want to know if Psalms is as picky about her men as she is about her vegan food.
About her food.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, at least you're consistent, Psalms, right?
I am consistent. You in this world, you have to be consistent. Like you have with everything, with our careers, with our
True.
art, with our writing. Consistency is key. It's not about, talent's important, but
Yeah.
talent is important. But I read this quote. Damn it, I don't remember. But basically, it's about worth ethic outweighing. You can have talent, all the talent in the world, but if you're not preparing, you're not doing the work, you're not going to get the results you want. So be consistent, be patient, and you will come.
Wow. Okay. I'll take that. And be reliable, right? I mean, reliability is kind of important too. So
Yeah, of course. That's the obvious, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, I think, you know what, the one thing I discovered about being in LA, so many people are trying to be something they're not, and I'm like, I'm from the Midwest, so I don't know how to be anything but myself, whether people like it or hate it, it's up to them to decide. But I just never understood the putting on the act to try to be something you're not, to just impress, because that never flies long term. That's easily noticeable.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'll see all of you before Christmas in a couple days.
yes.
Here. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
My birthday's on Christmas Eve. So.
Oh, really? Happy
Early
birthday.
birthday.
21,
you.
right? Psalms.
Huh?
21, right?
No, I'm getting older, not younger, my friend. I'm turning 24.
There
Well,
you go.
when you
Not
get
that much
old,
of a difference.
Like me and Robin, you're gonna want to get younger as your birthdays come.
Hey,
No, I'm
Serena,
like wine. I get better in time. So it's
there
all
you
good.
go. I like that confidence. Serena and Robin, you guys could pull off 20s. Come on. Don't.
Totally, right, Robin?
Yeah, no question.
No comments.
I love talking to you ladies. I really enjoyed the film. I thought it's awesome to put out a message like that and give the different perspectives as you did, Robin. It was
Thank
compelling, and everyone did a really terrific work, in their own ways. And that diversity and variety was fantastic. So I hope everyone checks it out and sees it more. And you can always make an impact that way too. And it's great to see, Robin, you telling important stories. And I hope you continue doing that too.
Thank you, Jim. Definitely.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you watching and taking the time to interview us, and that it's very
absolutely.
nice of you.
My
And now
pleasure.
we're looking at Sam's feet.
Yeah, what are you doing down there? She's so crazy.
Serena, I'm proud for not calling you Brooke not even once. I made it through. So I'll give my. Huh?
That was impressive. And I'm proud of myself for not calling Moxie Paris
Oh no.
at the premiere thing we had, not premiere at the screening. And I was, every time it came out of my mouth, I was like, Moxie. So we're all doing well on remembering each other's names today.
Yeah, certainly, for sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I hope to connect with you ladies down the road and see what's new and what's next. And happy holidays and happy birthday, Psalms, and stay healthy and safe, right?
Thanks,
Okay.
Jim.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
girls. Bye.
Have a great day, y'all.
Bye.